With the rising cost of groceries across Canada and an upcoming boycott of a major grocery conglomerate, I thought it may be interesting to look back at a protest that occurred across the country in 1947. So, in this video, we'll be exploring Canada's candy bar protest. The year was 1947. World War II had come to an end, and for Canada, the time of rationing was finally over. That meant a return to free market capitalism after years of government-mandated freezes on wages and the price of goods and services. Looking to recover from nearly a decade of thin profit margins, companies began to raise the price on everything from vegetables to automobiles, sending inflation through the roof and putting a crunch on everyone's wallets. On April 25, 1947, Canadian manufacturers of chocolate bars raised their prices from 5 cents to 8 cents per bar because of increasing production costs. In particular, problems with the cocoa bean supply and the elimination of wartime government subsidies as the reason for the price increase. Sweets were a rare treat for kids. However, their innocent joy was threatened when the price of candy bars skyrocketed 3 cents overnight. Imagine the shock and disheartenment of children as they entered the Wigwam Cafe, a popular local confectionery and lunch counter in Ladysmith, BC, where, without warning, their favorite treat cost 62% more than yesterday. Faced with the grim reality of empty pockets and longing taste buds, the children decided they had had enough. On April 25th, the candy bar protests began. At the helm of this growing movement was 16-year-old Parker Williams, who led 40 placard-carrying children behind his slogan-painted 1923 black McLaughlin Buick. As they marched, the children sang, "We want a 5-cent chocolate bar, 8 cents is going too darn far. We want a 5-cent chocolate bar, oh, we want a 5-cent chocolate bar."
1947 will long be remembered as the year of the great controversy.
We want a 5-cent chocolate bar, 10 cents is too high by far. Get behind the flowers, we want 5-cent chocolate bar.
Ladysmith and Chemainus erupted into protests as the children bandied together for cheaper candy and descended upon confectioners armed with placards bearing slogans like 8 cents is going too far and "Let the sucker pay 8 cents, we won't." Their earnest message quickly caught the attention of the press, and the group posed for the Vancouver Sun and the Victoria Daily Colonist. With that, their message spread across the country. By April 29th, armed with youthful determination and a sprinkle of mischief, 200 striking children stormed the provincial legislature building in Victoria, BC. Their demands were simple: lower the prices of candy bars or face the consequences. A complete boycott of candy bar purchases. What followed was a spectacle that captured the hearts and imaginations of Canadians across the country. As news coverage of the strike increased, the strike spread east. In Burnaby, British Columbia, a bicycle parade of protesting children is reported to have blocked Kingsway, a main thoroughfare. 300 children in Edmonton, Alberta, held a buyer's strike and, accompanied by a police escort, marched down the city's Jasper Avenue. In Regina, students walked out of class. 10 kids blasting bugles led 60 classmates in a march on Ottawa's Parliament Hill, while in Toronto, 500 teenagers from several high schools marched down Bloor Street and converged on Christie Pitts Park. And thousands more signed a pledge to promise they wouldn't buy a single chocolate bar until the price was lowered back down to 5 cents. In certain areas, the striking children had earned the support of student councils and the unions of various schools. The movement continued with additional protests in Prince George, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Montreal, Quebec City, Fredericton, Halifax, and throughout small towns and cities across the country. Parents across Canada were generally supportive of the striking children. They were initially amused by the kids' antics, but began to recognize the profound metaphor for their own struggles with the new post-war economy. Many adult-led community organizations supported the candy strike by printing protest signs and pledge cards, bringing snacks to kids on the front lines, and by standing with the youngsters as they rallied against price gouging. For 10 days, these young dissenters captured the front page headlines, and candy justice seemed to be winning as the sale of candy bars in Canada dropped by 80%. Winnipeg candy stores reported a day where they didn't sell any chocolate bars at all. Before long, some stores in Vancouver were reported to be cutting the price to 6 cents, taking a loss. "We'll lose money, but it will give the kids a break," Peter Turner, manager of the Veterans Centre in Vancouver, told the Vancouver Sun. As sales of chocolate bars plummeted, confectionery manufacturers rolled out their own public relations campaign. They claimed the massive price hikes were outside of their control, the result of higher production and labor costs. For them, raw materials such as milk, sugar, and cocoa bean processing had become more expensive since the government price freezes had been lifted. They also tried to convince customers that they were simply following the American market, where candy averaged between 5 and 10 cents for the same size bar. Canadian kids had it actually pretty good at only 8 cents. They suggested that if Canadians wanted lower prices, the government should just reduce taxes. One representative told the Toronto Daily Star that if the kids didn't call off their strike, chocolate bars could disappear from the market entirely. On May 2, 1947, candy manufacturer Rowntree's published an open letter in Canadian newspapers entitled "Why You Pay 8 Cents for a Rowntree Chocolate Bar." This was followed 5 days later by a letter from Willard's Chocolates in the Toronto Star. 5-cent chocolate bars just aren't possible now. And a representative with Moore's also appeared on CBC Radio. May 3rd was supposed to have been the largest planned march to be held in Toronto, but it came crashing down when the Toronto Evening Telegram printed an article from an anonymous source entitled "Reds Seen Duping Youth in 8-Cent Bar Campaign." Chocolate bars and a world revolution may seem poles apart, but to the devious communist mind, there is a close relationship. They don't realize it, but the indignant students parading with their placards, demanding a 5-cent candy bar, have become another instrument in the communists' grand strategy of the creation of chaos. It was accusing the children of being part of a communist conspiracy. To put things in context, these were the early years of the Cold War, and in the months leading up to the candy strike, newspapers had been filled with stories of communist plots being uncovered and communist spies being put on trial. The anonymous tipster had informed the Toronto Evening Telegram that the entire candy bar strike was being orchestrated by the National Federation of Labour Youth, an organization that helped establish labor unions in Canada. The National Federation of Labour Youth had members affiliated with the Communist Party, and the paper claimed that they recruited kids and were using them to further their own communist agenda. Whether these allegations were true or not, the candy boycott was now painted red, and parents forbade their children from taking part in any further protests. Community groups and backers withdrew their support, and newspapers denounced the protests. As the strike fizzled out, as did efforts that followed to hold one-week buyers' strikes against butter, jam, and children's clothing. No one wanted to be branded a communist. In the end, the 5-cent chocolate bar was never seen again, though prices were lowered to 7 cents for a while. The legacy of the candy bar protest lives on as a testament to the power of youthful exuberance and the importance of standing up for what you believe in. Imagine what would have happened without that unsubstantiated tip to the newspaper. The protests had already reduced the chocolate bar sales by 80%. It serves as a reminder that even the smallest voices can make a big impact, and that sometimes a little rebellion is just what the doctor ordered, especially if it comes with a side of chocolate. I do wonder who the anonymous source to the Toronto Evening Telegram was. Perhaps the candy bar manufacturers won by using the Red Scare against the children in an effort to retain their profits. What do you think? Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, there are a few things you can do to support our channel. Give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and leave a comment. Please consider giving us a super thanks on YouTube or buy us a coffee so we can continue bringing you interesting content. Let us know if there's a Canadian story you would like us to cover in a future episode. For more videos about Canada, please subscribe and ring the bell icon to be notified of our next video upload.